Hi lovelies. Today I brought my hair care package. I want to unravel my hair as I talk to you about my thoughts about unemployment. I don't know how the rest of the people undo their hair, but I like starting and doing my hair from behind so that just in case there's an errand I need to run outside, I can still run easily. So let's talk about unemployment, or like not even unemployment per se, but like looking for a job. From where I'm sitting, there are two types of people who are looking for a job. The people who are looking for a job while they are still employed. Then there are people who are looking for a job when they are fully unemployed. I have been in both spectrums in the last 12 to 24 months. I have been employed for the longest while and I've looked for greener pastures. I got greener pastures and I am currently unemployed. So looking for a job hits different when you've been employed, you've had a stable job for a while, and then now life puts you in a place where now you're looking for a job afresh, like you're unemployed and stuff. That one is a whole different ballgame. Because of the things I was going through in the season that I got unemployed, I wasn't fully embraced to the process of looking for a job. I was mad into this black hole of sadness and emptiness. But life happens, God happens, sunlight in your bones happened, and when it did, I reached to a place where now I could fully look for a job. And one of the things that I realized about looking for a job when you are unemployed is that, number one, one of the things that I changed, or I'm changing about when looking for a job right now, is that I have stopped looking for a job like I did when I had a job. When you have a job, yes, you're looking for a job, but you're not doing it full time. I remember, because I was mourning and crying over a lot of things in this season, I was in and out of job applications. And then as I was coming out of that season, I made a commitment of applying, even if it's going to be 3 to 5 jobs a day. Sometimes you get more than 3 to 5 in the websites that I have subscribed to. So one of the things that is helping me in this process of looking for a job is while I was journaling, I remember talking to myself and saying, Lynette, the day you are employed, you looked at your contract and you understood what your roles and responsibilities are, and you planned yourself accordingly. You organized yourself on a daily, on a weekly, on a monthly basis on how you're going to meet the KPIs of this job description. So now that you're in a season of looking for a job, why not treat it as a job so that you're not moving in and out? So the moment I shifted my mind to looking for a job, the things I think shifted, because now I set a particular time between 9 to 12. Those are 3 hours. I go to website, I actively look for jobs, I actively applied, I actively read through the job descriptions, the roles, the responsibilities, the qualifications. I actively wrote cover letters that would introduce me to the employers, that introduces me to the employers. And I feel like the process has become less torturous as the days go by, when I look at this chore as the season that I'm in, that I'm looking for a job. So that instead of looking at myself as a person who is unemployed, wondering will I ever get a job and stuff like that, all I am doing right now is saying, this is what the season demands, this is what I'll do. Then I make job applications. Thankfully the profession that I'm in there are always people looking for jobs. There are always people looking for a job. And another thing I'm grateful for is that there is no month that I haven't been called. I haven't gone for months without being called for interviews. I've gone for weeks, but not months. So I think that is the first thing, changing my mindset on looking for a job. I have decided, okay, this is the season that I'm in. Let me just embrace the season, so that I'm not worsening a bad situation, hardening a hard season already. The second thing that people the second thing that people don't know about the season of looking for a job is how much you develop a relationship with the people who shortlist you for an interview. There are two types of people who call you for an interview. There are people who call you for an interview and they tell you, like they call you in the morning and they ask you if you're available for an interview in the afternoon. There's some people who will give you a day or two. And one of the rare occasions, I've gotten people who have given me a week or weeks to prepare for interviews. I don't know if it has happened coincidentally where they've given me, or they'll just write you emails and follow up with a phone call if you don't respond to the email, and tell you that you have been shortlisted for an interview which is scheduled for a certain day. There is something that I had Lauren London say about her partner, Nipsey Hussle, R.I.P. She said Hussle, in an interview that they were doing with Hussle, she said Hussle doesn't prepare for interviews or prepare for events because he stays ready. And there's a way she articulated that phrase in a way that I have decided I'll also use it in my life journey, actually, in looking for jobs, yes, but also in my life journey, because I think about it. You're in this season where you're looking for a job, yes, and nobody applies for a job hoping that they won't be shortlisted for interviews. You're all applying for jobs hoping that you'll be shortlisted for work. So borrowing the philosophy of Nipsey Hussle, imagine preparing beforehand. Because me, I've been in a place where I've been shortlisted for an interview, let's say for tomorrow or the day after, in 2 days, and then for example, you'll be called for an interview in Nairobi or in Mombasa, so that means that you need to travel overnight. So you travel overnight. The preparation for that interview is chaotic because you travel, say, overnight or in the afternoon or during the day, 4 to 6 hours. Then you start reading for the interview, so it becomes very overwhelming. After a certain interview happened, I made a decision that I will never have to prepare for that interview as overwhelmed as that interview made me feel. I decided that I will be preparing for interviews way beforehand. So what I was telling you about how not many people understand the relationship you build with the potential employers once you're shortlisted for an interview. So I don't know about you, but as for me, especially when an interview is scheduled in a minimum of 3 days going forward, I go to the organization, I look at their operations, what they deal with, I look at their mission statements, and then I look at myself, the role I applied for, and my work experience, and I try to imagine how I fit in that organization as I prepare for the interview. So mind you, this is not me fantasizing about, am I a good fit for this company? No. This is about me preparing to vote for myself, to explain to these interviewers that I am a good fit. So imagine, you have to envision yourself working for that organization. You have to imagine yourself what your work experience has given you to make you the most suitable person for this role. And my God, you prepare for all that, and then you gas yourself up, because of course you're doing practice in front of a mirror, or like when you're sitting alone and you're visualizing how you're going to sell viloto za sera, and then you go for the interview, and what you've been preparing for days is summarized in barely 5 minutes, and then they ask you the questions that they ask you, and much as we know some of the questions that they can ask, the questions are never directly as you expect them to be. It is always twisted in one way or the other, or it is borrowed from a certain work list, but different the same work list, but you don't know which question exactly. So you have to know how to answer so that it is not generic. It is something that is very authentic. It is something that you're answering the question, not just reciting answers. So after you do all that, you leave the interview, and they tell you they're going to give you a feedback in a span of a week or two. If you are a Kenyan, you know. Much as I don't think this is something that happened, I don't think this is a Kenyan thing, but because I'm speaking from a Kenyan experience, this is my experience. They'll tell you that they'll give you a feedback in a week or two, but others are honest. Others, they tell you that if you don't hear from them in a span of 2 weeks, you just know you've not been called. Hey, me, there was an organization that told me, this your favorite companies here. My God, I wish I could be ballsy and just point out some of these companies. They told me whether or not I have passed the interview, they will let me know. And they gave me a period of 5 working days. They didn't say 5 working days, they gave me a date. So imagine me waiting for those days, hopeful, because this is one of those interviews that I might not have performed 100%, but I had an A, in my opinion. And even if I didn't have an A, I was banking on the fact that they told me they're going to give me a feedback whether or not I'll have whether or not I have succeeded at all. I waited, and then delusional. The time came, it passed, I wasn't called. Tell me why I didn't read that as a sign that I haven't been shortlisted, or I didn't succeed. I didn't succeed that section of the interview. Why? Hey, so I started making follow-ups with the call. I called the number that called me. Did they pick? No. Did they even text back? No. I wrote them an email. Did they respond? It is one thing waiting for this thing for all this time. It's another thing to experience at the time, it felt like humiliation. It is another thing to experience the humiliation for it almost feels like I'm begging for this position. But then that experience scorched me, yes. But then it also taught me one thing. It taught me never to chase things, people, situations, experiences that are not chasing after me. Because it stood vividly amongst some of the things that I was going through also in the same season, that when you start chasing after things like that, things that don't want to be found, things that are not chasing after you, you'll always be chasing them all your life. So now I made peace with that. That one hurt me. It hurt me to a point where I came up with the third I came up with a hack which now will become my third point. I started having a journal. I call it an interview journal. So in this interview journal, by now you know that I'm a big fan of journaling. Journaling is one of the biggest tools that has helped me survive this season, because I had or read somewhere that one of the things that human beings need is to be seen, to be heard, to be valued, something of the sort. And when you're going through life, one of the things that you need is to be heard. And sometimes you think that you have to share or you have to tell someone, and sometimes that helps, because when you bounce your thoughts in the mind of other people, you get feedback, and that is helpful. But one of the things that I realized that I need was to be heard. And sometimes the need to be heard doesn't need a response, it doesn't need a solution, it just needs to be heard, it just needs to come out of me. And that is where journaling came in hand. Because of my journaling habits, I always journal. I always say, for example, if I get shortlisted for a job, I'm like, this company has called me and this is what I'm feeling, yada yada. Yeah, but specifically for this process, the interview, whatever I'm calling an interview journal, I love journaling after the interview is done, so that it's like I am mourning for a process, I am letting go, I am saying goodbye, I'm coming to acceptance. So after an interview is done, instead of, even if they tell me that they'll call me the following day, in 10 days, in whatever days, and some people call, some people don't call, I don't bank on that information. After the interview, when I feel ready to journal, that will be, let's say if the interview was today in the morning, by the end of this day or the following day, I will schedule time to journal, and I'll just reflect on the experience and see, these are my expectations of the interviews, this is what came to pass, this is what didn't come to pass, this is what I feel I did so well, this is what I feel like I failed if they don't choose me, if they don't proceed with my candidacy, this is what I think failed me. And I also look at places where I hope I improve. Sometimes I even reflect on the questions that they ask. I realized that doing this journal brought a certain mindfulness to the interviewing process, because I used to go to interviews and when I leave the interview room, I wouldn't even tell you what they asked, because my mind was so terrified, it was so much in fear that if they ask question, I answer, it's like I was in a survival mode. If they ask question, they answer the best way I know how, and then I leave the place. But then, because of the interviewing journal, I could look back. I found myself more relaxed. I could hear questions, so that when I come back to my journal, I could remember the questions. Now, I write the questions that I think I didn't answer well, so that I resolve that no one will ever ask me this question in my lifetime, and I will not answer it correctly, or I will answer it in a mumble jumble way that I answered, just to make an improvement, because you're in competition with just one person. You are always in competition with the person you were yesterday, or the person you are in every new experience. The person, yes. So so I journal everything. I say how I feel. Then I write my hopes. I say how much I hope they call me. But then if they don't call me, I write words of affirmation and say, I really thank God for this universe. I really thank them for even shortlisting me, for considering me as a potential candidate for their position. And then I also talk to myself. I say, Lynette, you've got something going on here, because had you not been qualified, you wouldn't have been shortlisted. The fact that you've been shortlisted means that you want something already. And I gas myself up. I speak all I need to say, and then I also write a small prayer. I literally talk to God and I say, please help me get this job, or help me get this way. Because again, you can get a job, but then it doesn't align to the financial needs that you have, or the career aspirations that you have, or what my experience has shown me up till now. That yes, you can get good working opportunities, very good working opportunities, but my God, the work environment, super toxic, and you won't even know how toxic a place is until you've experienced toxicity. Me, being a millennial, I always look at this thing for mental health and wellness, especially when it comes to work. It's a Gen Z thing. I always imagine, these people are trying to be cute, or these people are trying to be cool, yada yada, until I experienced it. I remember I sat down in the balcony of the place I was working, and at the sun, I was thinking, what is this? Because I felt insanely sad, the kind of sadness that you can't even escape. For the first time, I had the urge to just up and leave. Don't even write a resignation letter, nothing, just up and leave. Anyway, that is water under the bridge. That is way before me, and all this is a testament to who God is. An interview journal has really helped me also embrace the process of looking for a job, and I don't know, I am hopeful something will come up, because now my mindset towards looking for a job has shifted from there are no jobs, or like when will I get a job, or being a victim of circumstance, to as long as I'm being shortlisted, all I need is to improve on my answers. All I have to do is ensure that I become the best candidate that amongst the people who are being interviewed. Yeah, and that brings me to I think my last point. The way this process has changed for me, or is changing for me, is, and I think this one I learned from my last interview. I have stopped, the way you apply for a job, let's say as an accountant. No, your resume says that you're an accountant, let's say an accounts receivable, and the people are looking for a cost accountant or a management accountant. For the longest while, when I go for interviews, I go there trying to prove to them that I have this work experience, I know this thing, and what I'm trying to prove to them is my resume. What I failed to do is show them why I am a good fit for the position. So now I have stopped. How do I want to say this? I have stopped preparing for interviews in terms of solely what my resume looks like. Right now, I prepare for interviews based on who they're looking for, if it is a cost accountant, if it's a management accountant, or even a finance officer. So that means that I am reading everything there is to read about accounting, about bookkeeping, about cost control, about the statutory deductions, about the budgeting, internal controls and procedures. I'm reading everything and everything. And this means that when I apply for a position, say cost accountant or management accountant, I no longer study to prove to the interviewers that my resume as an accounts receivable is so extensive, so detailed. I study so that is not, accounts receivable is not my only forte. I know about the rest of the chores, and I'm acquainted with the knowledge of it, with the operations of it, and potentially the onboarding, or potentially becoming their best fit in this candidacy or in this role that they are looking for. And so far, that's it. That's all I have. Kindly let me know, where are you in this journey? First of all, tell me, how are you? Are you newly employed, or are you happily employed? Are you looking for greener pastures? If yes, why? And if you are unemployed, tell me, how are you going through this process? And what part of my conversation has resonated with you? Kindly let us engage in the comment section, because I am looking forward to learning from you, learning with you, and growing with you. And I would really appreciate if I get a feedback from all of you. Thank you so much for reaching this part of the video. Until the next time, kindly consider to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Tell a friend to do what? To subscribe. Till next time, bye.